More affordable wireless video solutions have been hitting the market a lot recently, but systems that combine monitors and wireless transmitters and receivers are a newer subset of systems to hit the market at the lower price points. Today we are taking a look at the Crystal Video Wireless Swift Z system. This consists of two 5.5-inch monitors, one featuring a wireless video transmitter and one featuring a receiver for just under £850. But is it any good? Well, let's take a look. Before we get into it, I just wanted to go over why and how this system can be used. With the TX and RX built into the unit, you can mount the monitor with the TX onto your camera to use as an onboard monitor and a transmitter to the second monitor which will receive the signal from it. This can be great to give to a director or a client who may want to monitor the image away from the camera package. We did a video recently going over the different types of wireless video systems, which looks at why and how they are used. So if you'd like to learn more about them, check out the video here. Out of the box, you actually get quite a bit. You have a nice semi-hard case for transporting everything, both a TX and RX monitor, a sun hood for each monitor, a HDMI cable, 4 short antennas, 2 cold shoe mounts, a USB-C Type-C adapter, a wooden handle with the screws needed to mount it, a manual, and a lanyard. Oh, and a contents card that lists itself on the card. Both monitors are identical to each other, with the only exception being the transmitter and receiver difference. Honestly, build quality could have been a bit better. The monitors are incredibly light at just 370 grams, which is good, but they do feel quite plasticky all over. But considering what you're getting for the price, I think this can be forgiven. Given their relatively small size, weight and cost, I think this system will be used with smaller camera packages and by shooters on the lower end of the market who may look over the lackluster build quality. However, if you need your kit to take a beating, I would maybe check out another system. On the top you have the on-off switch, which you can also use to toggle the touchscreen operation of the monitor. You then have the 2 antenna threads which come with covers and short antennas, which I honestly would replace instantly. They feel incredibly poor quality, and with the Swift Z using the same 2dB BI standard antenna type as other wireless video systems, I would just go ahead and grab whatever style you'd like. Here in these example shots we've used the ones from a Teradek, for example. Lastly, you have a scroll wheel which you can use to navigate the menu system. These top buttons really don't feel great. I wish they were a bit higher quality with some more feedback. There are also these notches all around the monitor which can be used to mount the included sun hood. All you have to do is attach this bracket first, then the hood via the Velcro. This hood does the job but feels incredibly cheap, and it's very easy for it to just fall off or be knocked off as it's mounted just using a couple of clips and the recessed parts that we've just mentioned here. On the bottom you have a USB-C port which can be used to load LUTs into the monitor and update firmware. Next you have a 1/4-inch thread for mounting and an 8-volt DC output for powering smaller camera systems. The included lanyard mounts onto the bottom of the monitor, which will be handy to carry it without holding onto it, but isn't great for viewing hands-free. If you do plan on using the sun hood a lot, I think it may be worth making sure you carry some gaff tape to secure it down a bit more in your kit bag. On the left you have your serial numbers for each unit and then 2 threads which can be used with the included wooden handle. The right is where the major inputs and outputs of the monitor are. On both monitors you have a HDMI in and HDMI out, a 12-volt DC input and a headphone output. Just bear in mind this may make cable runs with mirrorless systems a bit messier, as their I/O is normally on the left as their hand grips are usually on the right. But it's not a deal breaker, just an annoying oversight. You also have a marking at the top of each monitor which lets you know what unit is which. The fact that both of these monitors feature HDMI in and out adds extra versatility, as you can just use either monitor as a regular HDMI monitor at any time, which is pretty rare with these types of systems. On the back you have 2 Sony NP-F battery slots that will allow you to hot swap between batteries. You can do this by tapping on the right hand side of the screen. This will swap between the left and right batteries. You can then remove the battery the monitor isn't using and replace it. The entire back of the monitor has fins all over it to better handle heat, and you can also see the fan here used for cooling. However, after long periods of use the system still can get quite hot, but this isn't surprising for a system like this, and the fan doesn't get anywhere near as loud as I thought it was going to. On the front you have a 5.5-inch 1920 by 1080 IPS panel with a peak brightness of 500 nits with a decently sized bezel to it. In most conditions 500 nits is enough and the panel looks okay. However, when compared to the brightness of the Atomos Ninja 5, you can see it definitely won't be great for brighter conditions, and unsurprisingly, it is incredibly hard to see outside, even with the included sun hood. The screen is also pretty reflective, so if you shoot outside in bright sunlight often, just bear this in mind. However, considering the cost of the unit, there are definitely going to be compromises with it, so this isn't really surprising. I do wish that CVW had used a brighter monitor, so these were more usable outside, but that would have made the units more expensive, larger, and more power hungry, so I guess some people will be happy with these lower brightness panels. The SwiftZ can send up to a 1080 60p H.264 compressed video feed to either a smartphone or TX monitor, and it can even be used with CVW's Swift 800 system. It is rated with a range of up to 800 feet, however from our tests just outside our Brentford location, we managed to get roughly 480 feet. But to be fair, that was with a few physical objects getting in the way between us. Your mileage may vary though, depending on your physical location and how busy the area is when it comes to signal. One thing to note is that the HDMI source going into the TX needs to be 1080p max. It cannot be higher as the RX will not downscale the feed, so it will not display anything wirelessly if you do. Though an image will still be displayed on the monitor with the HDMI feed going into it. A single transmitter can output an image to up to 3 different devices, which can be a mix of smartphones and RXs. When it comes to latency, the system is rated to be less than 70 milliseconds, though I'm not sure how they are really achieving this, so we ran our own tests to see. We ran these tests in our studio and did a few different configurations to see if they changed our results, which they did not. So we'll be looking at our larger setup, which was our FX3 pointing at an iPhone stopwatch with the TX SwiftZ plugged in via HDMI, outputting to my OnePlus 7 Pro, and the RX SwiftZ, which we then recorded on our Red Gemini. We can see that even the camera's monitor has around 70 to 80 milliseconds of delay. HDMI looks to have around the 125 milliseconds mark, and the RX and phone look pretty similar, averaging out just below 300 milliseconds. These results aren't surprising, and while 300 milliseconds may work for some lower end users pulling focus on very basic shots, these types of systems really don't replace zero delay sets, and personally I couldn't pull focus on this system. If you want to learn more about why that is, check out our previous video all about wireless video here. It's worth considering that your latency may be different, as different HDMI outputs across different camera systems will have different amounts of latency. When it comes to the unit's signal reliability, it seems alright, but reconnecting can be a bit weird sometimes. It doesn't snap back together quite as quickly as you might want out of a system like this. With the TX and RX, it does take some time to find each other. I didn't time it exactly, but it took longer than I would have wanted it to. With my phone, I had to go back into my Wi-Fi settings and reconnect it and then relaunch the app, which isn't ideal as well. Before we got our unit into test, I did some research, and one of the resources I found about the system was a review that the guys at NewShoot put together. They mentioned an issue they had with the C70, and we also had the same issue. This occurred when turning on the C70 and then the SwiftZ while they were plugged in. This would result in no image and would require the cable to be unplugged out of the SwiftZ and then back in. We then ran the same test with the FX3 and no such issue occurs, so it must be something to do with the C70, which is bizarre. Just bear it in mind if you are using this system with a C70. The SwiftZ can output to CVW's Crystal Vision app while also outputting to an RX. To connect, you just go into your device's Wi-Fi, find the TX monitor, which will start with CVW, and then type in the password, which by default is 12345678. But you can change this in the app once you're connected to it. You can then open the app and you have your feed. Audio is also transmitted here, which is cool. If you have used any wireless video apps before, then this will look decently familiar. You have all of your assist functions along the bottom of the screen, which you can hide and make appear by swiping up and down. You can tap on them to quickly activate them. Just bear in mind you can only use one function at a time. You can also go into more detail on these by holding the function down. You can move a few of these, such as the waveform, around using your finger on the device screen. You can also lock the screen using the button on the left. This could be good if you're handing it to a client to view or a director and don't want them hitting random buttons. On the right, you can change a few of the app settings and even scan the different wireless channels to see which one has the best connection. You also have the ability to capture stills, which you can then draw on and share, and also capture the feed coming into your device. This could be handy if you want to quickly show someone a take with a low quality proxy. Overall, it's a pretty decent app, and once connected is incredibly easy to use, which is what you want. The menu system of the actual monitors can be controlled either using the touchscreen or the button on the top right of the monitor. When it comes to boot up time, with the TX plugged into our FX3 here, it takes just shy of 10 seconds to get an image. If we then turn on the RX, it takes roughly 9 seconds for the screen to turn on, but then another 51 seconds for the RX to connect to the TX and then display an image. That's not fast by any means, but as long as you are aware that this may take a while, once it's on and connected, you can just hot swap batteries from there. However, if you need to plug your HDMI in and out for some reason, at least you know it's fast getting an image back that way. You have a few different touchscreen gestures. Swiping up from the bottom brings up the shortcut menu, double tapping towards the left side brings up the main menu, double tapping on the right hand side will swap between which battery you're using if you have two mounted on the back of the monitor. Swiping up or down on the left side of the monitor will change the backlight, and doing the same on the right will change the volume. Lastly, if you swipe in from the right, the channel display menu will appear. By default, the wheel on the top adjusts your backlight, but you can toggle between having it either adjust volume or backlight depending on what you want. When you swipe up from the bottom, you have access to 6 different toggleable functions: focus assist, histogram, audio meter, parade, vector scope, and all waves. You can't have more than one toggled at a time, which is kind of annoying. The all waves function has quite a nice layout to it. You also can't change any settings for these at this menu. For that, you'll need to go into the full menu by double tapping. This is the main menu of the monitor, and it is broken into 5 menu tabs. The first contains a range of assist functions which you can tweak. This consists of all waves, parade, vector, histogram, focus assist, audio meter, zebra, monochrome, and false color. The next tab is for monitoring overlays, which consists of a 3x3 grid, a range of safety markers, a center marker, marker matte, and marker color. The next tab is more for monitoring adjustments. Here you have scan mode, video aspect, anamorphic modes, auto mirror, zoom times, freeze, and pixel to pixel. The next tab is for image adjustments. Here you can toggle between some HDR-ish modes, a LUT toggle, an import function, then the ability to tweak your color temp, backlight, brightness, contrast, saturation, hue, and sharpness. The last tab is more for general settings. This consists of what you want the wheel to do at the top of the monitor, changing your language, the transparency of the menu system, OSD time, touchscreen toggle, adjust volume, mute, reset, Wi-Fi reset, and lastly, firmware update. On the right hand side, you have the wireless channel menu, which allows you to turn off the wireless functionality of the system, as well as changing between the 10 available channels and toggling both WPS and RTPS modes. While the SwiftSED system from CVW may not be the most polished solution on the market, its affordable price point and unique feature set does put it in a pretty interesting position. Its HDMI input and output on both monitors make it extremely versatile, and currently there is nothing else on the market really like it that can compete at this price point. Though with products like the Zcam IP Man coming out, is it worth spending a little bit extra and using a TX or RX system? Well, if you require a brighter monitor or improved assist functions, maybe. Let us know what you think of the CVW SwiftSED system down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like and don't forget to subscribe for all future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.